That's it. I'm in a great baseball mood. Let's go.
Maybe too good. Hopefully, I can bring you down a little bit as your White Sox are traveling to Detroit on Friday to take on my Tigers for our home opening series. That'll be fascinating to watch. Start the season in Detroit against the Chicago White Sox. I couldn't ask for more. Actually, that's how it's been the last couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
It's usually really early if it's not the first series. So
yeah,
I like it. Tigers are, I mean, we've basically established that the Dodgers are much better than the teams I love, the Tigers and Cubs, as my teams are now 0-5 to start the season against the Dodgers. Fortunately, the Dodgers might be the greatest team ever assembled, so I'm not going to be too upset about it. Tigers actually did hold their own, I thought, in every game against the Dodgers. They did not look outclassed. It just didn't. They couldn't get over the finish line. They actually had more runners on base. They had more walks and hits in every game in total for the series than the Dodgers. I think it was like 32-23. The trouble is the Dodgers hit 9 home runs and there was always somebody on base and it was always perfectly timed whenever they needed it. They got the home run they needed. Tigers, I think they hit 3 home runs in the series and they're all single run homers. So it's just they didn't have the timely hitting. I think they're 4 for 30 something with runners in scoring position. So, but again, they weren't blown out because their starting pitching is pretty fucking good. Again, I like what I'm seeing. It wasn't perfect. Turk struggled a little bit. He's going this afternoon, hopefully to redeem himself.
He better.
Against the Mariners today. Flaherty returned to his former home in Los Angeles, got his World Series ring, which is a really cool thing. He looked very popular to return amongst the Dodgers. A lot of hugs, they miss him. I'm glad to have him back in Detroit. That's where he wanted to be. Saw Reese Olson have a solid start. Just there wasn't enough offense, and that's not too surprising, I guess. Not timely hitting. They got enough traffic on the bases. There just wasn't the timely hitting, it's just going to happen in baseball. So not the result, the 0-3 first series that you'd want, but I thought they looked a lot like the team that went on that tear the last 2 months of last season. Just great pitching, good bullpen, and just enough offense. They just need a little bit more. That's actually come to fruition in Seattle as their not so easy start to the season schedule keeps them on the West Coast up into Seattle, which has traditionally been a house of horrors for them. But the last couple of years, the Tigers have handled them. They've won the first 2 games in the series, and really, you're looking at the rotation for the Mariners. They might have the best rotation in the American League, and the Tigers have had no trouble with them at all. It's kind of crazy how many runs they put up early in games and not even beating up on the bullpen necessarily. It's been against their starters. So Tigers are starting to put together more timely hits. The good news through 5 games is they are putting runners on base much more than their opponents are. And that's how you win games. Get some traffic on the bases. The total is more. They've in every game, all 5 games, they've hit or walked their opponents. So I like that. Couple that with the rotation that I argue is the best in the American League. As we saw, not only, of course, Skubal, Flaherty, and Reese Olson, we saw the debut of Jackson Jobe as a starter, who's a little shaky. He had 4 walks over 4 innings, but the stuff is there. The stuff is legit, as he was the top pitching prospect in baseball coming into this season. So we saw Casey Mize last night pitch really well. I liked what I saw to Casey Mize, who's another 1-1 overall draft pick that has just not really lived up to the billing, but he's put on like 20 pounds of muscle. And it looks like a different guy, and he's looked great throughout the spring, and he's continuing that on at least into this first start. So I like what I'm seeing there. One of the other great stories to see is Spencer Torkelson, the renaissance of Spencer Torkelson, which we saw throughout the spring. You never know if that's going to carry on. Well, it's carried on into the regular season. In fact, opening night in Los Angeles, he had 4 walks and a home run for his plate appearances. So he had a 5,000 OPS for the first game, which is not too bad. So he's continued that. that is a welcome sign as the Tigers are dealing with all sorts of injuries that I enumerated in the last episode. They've even had more as Gleyber Torres has gone down with an oblique. That's actually kind of the first injury that's worked out in the Tigers' favor in a way. That's an area where they have some depth, as they can now just move Colt Keith back over to second. And then now that Tork is hitting, he's a solid, usable first baseman. So that kind of puts their defense back the way you wanted it originally, as they they were thinking they were going to be demoting Torkelson to AAA, and they were going to have Colt Keith move over to first, which is just not ideal since he's never played there before. So kind of feel like I don't want to see Torres hurt. He hurt himself hitting a home run, unfortunately. But the way it's worked out, they have depth at that position, so they can absorb that. So yeah, we'll see what they do. They've won the series in Seattle. They've kind of righted the ship. They're 2-3, which ties them for first in the division. The entire division is 2-3 now, except for the Twins. So yeah, it's an interesting mixed bag. So I'm excited to see them come home, play your White Sox. Either your White Sox prove that your starting rotation is legit, or you come back to earth, and we'll be able to make those summaries in our next episode, whenever that happens to be.
Yeah, I mean, the White Sox starting staff comes in with an ERA 4.05 lower than yours. So
Advantage White Sox.
I like our chances. I mean, what would you say? I think the biggest issue too from your pitching so far has just been the long ball.
Yeah.
12 homers in the first round of games.
That's the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers went 9 home runs against us in those 3 games. So,
but like when you look at, like, you got to look beyond those things, because like the starting pitcher's whip is only 108, and they're holding opponents to like a 1-something batting average, like 198 batting average. So it's like they're pitching well. It's just they got hurt by the Dodgers of the long ball, and like you said, they've rebounded nice in Seattle, and it's just a fact, folks. The Dodgers are world beaters, and maybe you catch them at the right time, hopefully in the fucking playoffs, and get them out of the way so we can enjoy the playoffs this year. But
yeah, I wonder when the Dodgers will actually lose their first game of the season, because they're now 7-0.
Word Hole Media.